Hello. Gotta remember to look there. How's this sound? Thank you for the thumbs up. I haven't even said anything. Thank you. Let's keep the thumbs up going. That'd be great. This helps my videos reach more people, even though YouTube shadow banned me. How are you all doing? So this is a chat today about the philosopher Diogenes and how it applies to our current reality that we're living in. But I also want to just kind of open up with, what's going on in your lives, what's going on in my life, how we're doing, because these are strange times for people who grew up in the era that we have been privileged to live in so far. And yeah, how are you all keeping? Whoa, I've got a pretty good setup going here. Oh, and for those of you who just want to get straight to the discussion today, of course I'll be putting a link, a timestamp for you in the description or the comments. Let's get some lips on. I'm covering my face so I don't sit there looking at myself, because as we know, one of the traits, negative human traits that Diogenes despised was vanity. By the way, this is Lilac MAC lip gloss if you want to increase your vanity, so Diogenes could hate you even more. Okay. So yeah, I'm in town today. I picked a spot where I will not be blocking someone's way of getting into their living situation, so that I don't have to confront them on a live video. That was hilarious yesterday. Watch yesterday's live video if you want to see how that went down. And that was where I kind of noticed that there was an interest in talking about Diogenes, and I had kind of just started reading up a bit more about him, and I'm thinking, man, this guy sounds a lot like me. Like, he has a lot of the thought processes and the opinions and the desires that I had too. And I was like, you know what? We need to talk about Diogenes, because this advice is very applicable to what we're going through today. And this guy lived in 4th and 5th century BC, okay? So have humans really changed all that much? Apparently not. Hey, Fat Cat. Hey, guys, I'm doing just fine. Thank you for saying my makeup looks good. I looked at my video yesterday and I was like, how can I improve for today? I spent extra time today. That meant that when I went and attended to the chickens and ducks this morning, I was hurrying, and I wore sandals to go and do that. And I had to walk very carefully because it's kind of gross, like there's cows around there and stuff too. So I took extra time today. I'm glad you noticed. I'm so vain. I'm such a terrible human. This is going to be a fun talk today. So, yeah, and just on our little opening thing, I am in town again today because they kept my kitty overnight. They kept her overnight. I was so sad when I had to leave her, and I was telling them, I'm like, she can get really scared and timid, but she's very sweet and she's very sensitive. So please, I was just trying to tell them, like, please treat my little girl well. They're like, oh, I know, it's okay. We'll take care of her. And I was leaving. I was like, oh. And of course, like everything that happens to me in life, it just brings up memories from my childhood that threaten to drive me insane. Here I am bringing a cat to get a routine operation, and I'm like trying to make sure they know how to treat her, and I'm making sure she has her special blankie, and I'm doing all these things, and I'm thinking of when I was a kid in the hospital, and my mom just literally dropped me off and left me there, and they strapped me down to a hospital bed and left me. I'm 4 years old, or between 2 and 4. And how I was in the hospital alone, again, many times. Like, I can't imagine just doing that. So I'm sure some of you who have pets or children who are not horrible people, you can kind of understand. I saw you say you'd be bawling your eyes out if you left your kitty overnight. I know. I was talking to them on the phone, and they said bring her in early to get her spay, and I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, oh yeah, and you can pick her up the next day. And I was like, what? I was like being, I was talking to her before I brought her in to calm her down. And I was saying, I'm gonna miss you so much, and she's just so sweet and affectionate. I actually love this cat so much. She's just so cute. You know how as a human you pet a cat and you're like, oh, this is so soft and so nice. It's like a pleasurable experience. She thinks of me like a cat. She likes to I like to lie on the ground, or I'll do my stretching or my yoga on the ground, and if she's around she'll come and lie down on my back. And then I just do this funny thing where I like to crawl around with her on my back like she's riding me like a horse. And David was there. He observed that while she was doing that, because I knew she was doing stuff up there, but I didn't know what she's doing because I can't see it. He told me that she was putting her cheek against my hair and going like this. And she's basically smiling oh, she just loves how soft and how interesting my hair is, It's just so cute. So, yeah. She's a real sweetie pie. She's on my Instagram. Her and her brother are twins, pretty much. But you can tell because he has a face like Tom Cruise. If Tom Cruise were a cat or a serial killer, that's what my son Speedy looks like. And she has this face like a deer in the headlights. She's a really cute, sweet face. She's a really feminine, cute face. So anyway, so that's about my cat that I'm picking up from the vet today. But let's talk about Diogenes the Cynic. And it's interesting to think about cynics back then versus cynics today. The cynics, in 4 and 5th BC, the school of philosophy, I think actually Diogenes was he founded it or something. They believed, much like modern cynics, that humans are pitiful, right? They are very easily convinced of things. They are vain and selfish. They are essentially doomed. And Diogenes himself, he's one of the original outspoken misanthropist, right? Misanthropist. So anthropy meaning man, and mis meaning dislike or hate. So misanthropist, people who hate humans and humanity. Put your hands up. Here we go. Okay, I'm with you all on that. Yeah, so he's one of the originals, and he is said to have said things like, he just really didn't believe. He believed that if humanity went extinct, it would be as sad as if someone had eradicated a hornet's nest. It's exactly the same thing. Oh, well, he didn't think highly of humans. And yeah, that's right. Put your hands up, Miss Andrist. Are you an antinatalist as well? I'm one of those as well, unfortunately. I also think that having children is selfish. It's very selfish and unkind. It never brings something I love to live in this world. Hell no. But anyway. And that's one thing about Diogenes, is he went out and judged people as well. He wanted them to know how wrong he thought their lives were, and they were as human beings. And I used to be like that too at the beginning of my journey. Now, nope. I think they call this being black-pilled, right? There's the red pill, there's the white pill, which is like God pill, and then there's black pill, which is pretty much misanthropy, where you're just I just let people do what they want, and I if they're happy for it, then I'm happy for them too. And in the back of my mind, I'm just, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm just really going off today. My current state, hey Veronica, good to see you. My current state, I have no problem telling you all this, is not well. It's really not well. I'm probably the least well that I mentally and emotionally that I ever have been in my life. So I think there's also something good about that. The fact that I can recognize and realize that is really useful. And also that I know that I have, not to make major life decisions when your brain is in a limbic state, right? When we're living in a limbic state of our brain, my parents lived out of that their entire lives. It's something that just, it makes you childish, petty, irritable, angry, sad, hopeless. And I think a lot of us are kind of going through that too. And there's things I'm working on to bring myself out of that. And doing these lives are one of them. Like talking, providing service and value to people, that helps me as well. So when I get into a state like this, I just try to throw myself into service that I can feel good about. Not people-pleasing service, which I have been so guilty of in the past, or like service that you're doing out of obligation or, out of guilt. Just things that you feel that you want to do out of your spirit. So for me, I do a lot of caretaking of animals. Yeah. Things that I really wouldn't do, but I just see it as a service of the greater good, right? And yeah, so anyway, so what else do you want to talk about? So yeah, Diogenes, he was the original misanthropist. Now when I hear someone who just has this horrible view of humanity, I think they must have had terrible parents and a bad childhood, because that's how we first form our opinion of society, right? Society, the very first society we experience is our family. So people who grow up and they say all these terrible things about society, well, it could be that they have lived through things and seen things and been really insightful about it. But oftentimes people who grew up in a positive, happy, supportive, healthy society, family, they're kind of, and this is not a bad thing, they are kind of indoctrinated into the belief that people are generally good and that the world is a good place and that you can trust people. They're the kind of people who you often see on the true crime murder cases, who pulled over to help someone on the side of the road and something very bad happened to them. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. So just so you know, I've been watching you in and out for years now. You always seem, I'm not sure what it said, keeps wanting me to watch you. I think it was a wonderful compliment that I missed. Thank you very much. So anyway, so yes, damn Adelle, people are putting LOL, and they're saying it's true. This is what I'm telling you. But so yeah, so I was interested. I'm like, what kind of childhood did Diogenes have? Right? Because myself, I had a horrific childhood. By the time I got fully away from my mother and lived on my own, I was 17 years old. I wrote about this in my book that's on Amazon. I remember waking up one day and I just felt that you know how sometimes you can become aware that something's been different for a long time and you just haven't realized it? I remember waking up and going, one day and going, oh my God, like, I have not been yelled at in weeks. It was just like this profound thing. And back then I was in massive amounts of survival mode. I really hadn't processed what had happened to me. I was still indoctrinated by my original society, my family, to believe that the reason why my mother was the way she was because I was a bad kid. I didn't help enough. I didn't make her tea. I wasn't supportive of her, and she was telling me these kind of things by the time I was 4 years old, right? Right. So that also could lead to my anti-natalist stance, where I believe that people have children in order to do something for themselves. They say, I want to have a kid so that I can experience love and someone will be there for me and they can't leave and someone can help me in my life. Or sometimes they lie to themselves and they say, oh, I want to have someone to love, or I want this and that. Anyway, I'm going to talk about this more. I'm going to talk about this more. And as you guys know, I say that I'm a misanthropist and that I hate people. I don't hate people. I hate humanity. I like individual people. And so when I find people who are different, or people who are at least aware of what they're doing and what they've done instead of lying about it, then that really gives me hope. And I also think that we really shouldn't believe in anything that makes our life more difficult. What is the point? So I do think we should be honest about things that we see, but we also have to believe that there are things possible that maybe, and myself, I am aware. I think, you know what? If I have some negative beliefs, it is entirely possible that I'm completely wrong, that it's because of the way my brain's been wired based on my childhood, and that I'm just not able to see the truth. I have to accept that that's possible. That's why I haven't killed myself. I went through that many times, even recently, over the course of my life. And I just know that no matter what I'm telling myself right now, I know that for me to be thinking this, my brain is not in the state that nature intended, right? The nature of your body as an organism on this earth, it is towards self-preservation. It is towards life. That makes me laugh because I'm thinking of how Diogenes had a very unconventional life. He also had a very unconventional death, and the theories on how he died are there's about three of them, but one of them that I thought was really funny was that he held his breath to death. He held his breath until he died. And that sounds like a very Diogenes thing to do. But the thing is that our bodies are wired for life. That would not work because you have a nervous system that operates when you are out of it, right? You don't have to remember to breathe and beat your heart while you're sleeping, right? So if you hold your breath and you pass out from doing that, your autonomic nervous system will take over and you're going to start breathing again. So that doesn't work, but I did think that was very funny. Yeah, that quite cracked me up. So anyway, so again, like I was really, so I was interested in his childhood, Diogenes' childhood. And I thought, surely he had one like me. Like, back then, they didn't really talk about the dynamics of children and their emotional health. They didn't talk about mental health all that often, so we don't really know. But we do know that Diogenes came from a wealthy family. And he came to hate money. That was how he got exiled. He got sent an exile to Athens because he was busted defacing money. Trust me, there are so many stories about him that I'm going to tell you that are just going to make you laugh because he sounds like the original troll. He sounds like someone who the snowflakes would have canceled, to infinity. Okay? So yeah, he got busted defacing money. And when I heard about that, it made me laugh because it reminded me of a couple of other figures that have played into, people I've been interested in life. And that would be Saint Francis. Oh, I love Saint Francis. Saint Francis who cared for the animals, Saint Francis who lived among the animals. And Saint Francis came from a wealthy family as well. And St. Francis wanted to show people how much he hated money and how much he didn't care for it. So he would walk the streets and throw money out. And what was really funny was they found out that it was actually his father's. Can you imagine going, I hate money, and so you go take your parents' money and go throw it. That cracked me up. Yeah, I love St. Francis. And also reminded me of Chris McCandless from Into the Wild, right? That was a similar situation with him as well. He had the wealthy parents, and they were setting everything up for him in life, for him to go to what do you call a prestigious college. And yeah, he went and he threw his money away and he gave up all his possessions and he went and lived in Alaska, I think, in a camper. He ended up dying, but he just wanted to get away from all of that. He wanted to get away, thank you, Ivy League college. Yeah, he wanted to get away from all of that and he wanted to, experience the reality of life as a human in nature. And actually, what's really interesting, do this. Go and read Crappy Childhood Fairy. I am on that and I have her course. So thank you very much. The other one, I will check that one out. Thank you for that. But just a quick note here. Christopher McCandless's sister wrote a follow-up book. And it is about their childhood, which not enough was said about. Their parents sound like absolute narcissists, crazy people who just wanted to put on a show of their children, how amazing their children were, while behind closed doors, they're degrading them, shaming them, trying to control them. This is horrible things. And she details it very specifically. And you guys know I love stuff like that. I love exposés, people speaking out on what they went through. I think it's so important. I remember I had someone find my channel, my website back in the day. I could see what people were searching for to end up on my website. And it was like broken English and kind of misspelled. And it said, "Why my mother hate me." Oh my gosh. I actually cried when I saw that. I just, So whatever we can do to help people who are still suffering. And for me, this is something I do, and it helps me too. For all the times when I couldn't say a single thing as a child. I went for a year without speaking. So, anyway, thank you guys. So yeah, I wanted to talk about, so I looked into his childhood. I didn't find anything hilarious there. But I would like to do more research into that to find out how he became the way he was. Because it's rare to find these characters who are really aware and awake to what is going on in society, in the world. Many people are very easily drawn into narratives. They're drawn into popularity, going along with what their neighbors or their friends or people who they find influential, what they're saying. And I think right now we're going through a time of great evil and tyranny and corruption. And personally, I think something great will come out of it, even if it is just that the corruption and tyranny gets taken down. Eventually, that's worth it to me. But I also think what we're also seeing is it's waking people up to things that they were not aware of before. I saw my friend's mom, she's like 60, in her late 60s, on Facebook, posting memes about about corruption and stuff. Oh man, it's so funny. And about the media and everything. And I was like, wow, there are people waking up who were sleeping before. And I think that's the first stage you kind of go through, which is outrage and wanting to tell everyone. And then when you kind of get further along on your journey, you kind of realize, oh, well, it's kind of everyone's journey to figure this out for themselves, like it was for me. Like, nobody coming to me and saying, hey, Adele, did you know, blah, 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 you have to do this and that, and blah, blah, blah. I think that would have really put me off when I was still asleep. I still, remember when I went to a therapist for the first time and I said, I have depression, I want to work on my depression. And the therapist said, okay, tell me about your childhood. And I thought, what the hell? I thought, who is this guy? What does this have to do with anything? And then he said, tell me about your mother. And that just hit me like boom. And I just remember thinking, what does that have to do with anything? And then in the next breath, I thought, wait, how does he know? And yeah, the tells are all over me. They were at that time. I think they still are, and I'm working on that. But yeah, people can tell these kind of things. And so those of us who are aware of what's going on right now, I feel like we have three things in common. three things in common in our childhood that make us very aware of what's going on right now. Now, obviously, it doesn't apply to everyone, but I have found that there are these patterns. So the first is that as a child, we witnessed corrupt authority. I like corrupt. We witnessed corrupt authority. Okay? We witnessed corrupt authority in our childhood. So we know what it looks like, right? So for those of us, that could have been the school system. I know for people who grew up in different countries, that would have been the government, people who grew up under communism. And for those of us, there would have been parent figures. For me, yeah, obviously it was my mother. I think I remember this switch in my brain when I realized, oh, she tells me she knows everything and I have to obey her and she's all knowing, whatever. But it was like I realized, oh, wait a minute, she's got a lot of problems and what she's telling me is not true and I can't trust it. Same thing in school. I'm going to make a video about stories I have from being in public school and the teachers and just the dysfunction that I witnessed. And that's another reason why I would never have children, is I would never trust them to a public school system. Never. I would never have children and put them there. Although, like everything, like I said, there's an upside to everything. I grew up in the public school system, and I really think that it helped me develop into the person I am today, learning how to see corruption in adults, dealing with these children, all these traumatized children from all around the world, privileged children, having to sort things out on the playground. We were like Lord of the Flies, we were just thrown out there. And I really kind of learned a lot of things socially by just being thrown out and having to learn how to swim. It helped. But so yeah, that's one. And so the second thing that I think we all have in common is we've been gaslit before. So gaslighting is essentially when someone tells you that what you're seeing, you're not seeing. Okay? And that can happen in any kind of situation. A lot of times it happens in dysfunctional relationships, family systems, whatever. I know for me as a kid, I would say to my mother, like, that's not fair. Or I would say, like, I don't want us to live like this. I remember saying, and this actually made my therapist cry when I told her about it. I said that one time I tried telling my mother, like, I didn't know how to describe what I felt, but I said, I feel like we are like human garbage. Can you believe that? Oh, this is when she had, I don't want to get into it. Get my book on Amazon if you want to know more about these kind of things from my childhood. But I didn't have the words to describe the shame and the things that I went through. My child called out the teachers, good, and the principal. I told him, good job, keep challenging their bullcrap. He is going to be a strong kid with good principles and confidence from that. Yeah, that's hilarious. I have so many stories of the times I owned the teachers, multiple times. I have them woven into my other videos, but I need to make a video just about that. That's a really good sign. I mean, as long as you're not being ignorant, right, or combative. But even as a kid, if you want to be combative and you start to learn, right? That's how you kind of learn in life, is you kind of, maybe you do something a little bit too much, and then you get feedback from that, and you go, okay, well, I have to learn how to do this a bit differently next time. That's how I learned too. And so so about gaslighting, that's when gaslighting can also be being lied to, or like not being told you didn't see that or that didn't happen, but being lied to. So, for example, if someone's getting hit, and if someone's getting hit, like a parent's hitting a child, and they're saying, "I'm doing this because I love you," right? Now you're doing it because you're angry, and you haven't researched how to actually discipline and teach a child something properly. You haven't real researched or put any effort into researching what happens to a child's nervous system when the person they're supposed to trust and care for more in the world during a time when their brain is not functioning properly is applying physical aggression to them. You haven't done any research on that. You might have researched, what's the best car to buy or what's the best upgrade on your iPhone or your computer. You must have spent hours doing that, but you haven't spent a single time looking up what happens to children when you hit them, right? So yeah, that's another example of gaslighting. That's like the husband who, or like the killer who kills people and says, I had to kill them because I loved them so much. I had to, the killer, it's like, okay, nice gaslighting there, right? So we're seeing that now too. We're doing this to keep you safe. We are ruining everyone's businesses and lives. We're causing more suicides than we've ever seen in the world and not reporting about it. We're doing all these horrible things because we care about your safety. We didn't care about war veterans. We didn't care about mental health crisis. We don't care about old people. But all of a sudden now we have something to sell you. We really care about your safety, right? Gaslighting, lying. So the third thing that I think we have in common, people who are waking up during this time, as we've been extremely failed, and some of us flat out blatantly lied to by the medical institution, right? One thing they got right when I was a kid, I was 9, I ended up in the hospital. I was like on the brink of death, right? Neglect. They knew it was neglect and toxic stress, which is actually a flat out condition that children can get. But they also told me, well, they tried to tell me, you will either be dead or in a wheelchair in 6 months. They actually told my mother this. To her credit, my mother was into a lot of things that people were not into back then. So she was aware of, in certain moments, I guess, the power of suggestion. And so the doctor told her this, and they're saying, okay, we have to tell your daughter this. And she said, don't tell her that. Because she knew that as a child, if they told me that, I could very much make it happen. My mother was also nervous about my powers as a kid. It sounds weird. I haven't talked about this, but she used to, yeah, it was weird. I remember she would, I haven't talked about this ever, but I remember things would happen. Like one time this dog showed up at our house, and we didn't have dogs in our neighborhood. We couldn't have dogs. And this dog was obsessed with me and our family. And it was very weird. It was a German Shepherd, and it just showed up one day and it just wouldn't leave. And it was like it knew us. I remember my mom asking, Adele, were you thinking about were you wishing for a dog or something like that? And I just said, no, no, of course not. Of course I wasn't wishing for protection from you, no. I have a couple more stories like that, actually. I remember going to my mom and asking her, if you see if you have a dream about something bad happening to your friend and you don't tell them and then something bad happens to them, is that bad? Like, I used to live with guilt with stuff like that. I remember I had a very specific instance where I was in this summer school. This time it was in the city, and I saw this guy I had a crush on in the class. I saw him in a dream going down this gravel hill, and his bike wiped out at the bottom. And we were, biking the next day. It was literally the next day. And it was unfamiliar. And I remember I turned the corner. And then when I turned the corner, I realized it was the top of the hill and the gravel. And he was already gone. He was already down there, and he already wiped out. I remember telling my mom that, and she got really creeped out. Because I didn't know. How old was I then? I think I was sick back then. I might have been like 11. No, it must have been after I was sick, because I couldn't have been riding a bike. So, yeah, maybe 11 or 12. So anyway, I hope y'all are having fun on this. I'm going to make a video about Diogenes that's more dedicated and, a bit more straight to the point. With these lives, I like to chat and kind of have a visit. And I'm glad you thought that was interesting, Fat Cat. Thanks for that. So anyway, getting back to Diogenes, I have so many funny stories. So I told you guys the story about what he said to Alexander the Great. I told you guys that in my story yesterday, which was damn hilarious. He has said other funny things as well. There was one time I heard of where Diogenes, he witnessed this son of a prostitute was throwing rocks at a crowd. And he went up to the kid and he said, "Be careful, young man, that you don't hit your father." It's pretty rude, huh? I just went, oh, when I heard that. I said, what a rude guy. And there's another. He had a lot of little quips and comebacks to people. I'm trying to think of another funny one. He also had some really kind of profound ones too. There were students who wanted to study under him, and one of them was trying to impress him, and he said, "Life is evil," and he said, and Diogenes corrected him, and he said, "Living an evil life is evil," right? So he did believe that man was pitiful, but it was because we are in a fallen state, and that it's brought on by society. It's brought on by trying to fit in. It's brought in by trying to, yeah, philanthropy is the opposite of misanthropy. That's right. Good call. Is brought in on by trying to conform, worrying about things of the world, like, oh, will I find a love, or oh, well, what am I gonna do for work, and how do I impress people, and how do I look cute, and all of the things that humans are. How do I get a promotion, whatever it is. And he believed essentially that if people were freed from that, for example, kind of like if you grew up in the woods or you're raised by wolves or something like that, then you would have your true human nature would be there. You wouldn't be corrupted. And when I first heard that, I thought, oh, that's so, like, I liked that. But then I thought about some things. And yeah, I've been really curious and fascinated about that idea as well. And so I have watched on YouTube many videos, documentaries about tribes that have been untouched, you know, that haven't had contact with the outside world. And I watch them and I see they have some of the traits. And they're not all these benevolent, right? The trope that they call it is the noble savage, right? They're not these benevolent people like the creatures on Avatar that are listening to the wind and doing all these things. You know, it's like they were violent. Hey, Missy Moo, hi from Canada. There's a sign back there that says Canada this way on the highway. Oh man, I'm thinking about you all. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, so that's not the case. There are tribes that have not been exposed to Western life. That, you know, they have a kid who is. I saw this video, and it was like this little kid, and this was like small. This little kid, in Africa or something, and or no. Was it in Africa? Was it in South Africa? Or was it in the Amazon? I can't remember. But it's this little kid. He must have been like 6 years old. And he had a face like a man who had been through stuff and seen things. He had a face like a 50-year-old. And it was really sad. And he was looking like, it showed him walking down like, you know, walking in the village. And he was doing like this, you know. And the voiceover was saying that people had decided that he was a witch doctor and they wanted to kill him. So he had to be on the lookout. 6-year-old kid. And yeah, if the child gets born as an albino, they take parts of that kid and use it for medicine, right? I really love seeing the lives of children around the world and the stuff that they've gone through, because it really puts your life my life into perspective. Yeah, I could go on about that. But anyway, there was also another thing that I noticed. So Diogenes is saying, if you're free from the trappings of society, maybe what he means by that is other people. Surely he can't mean other people. Most of his stunts always involved other people. If he really believed that if you didn't have to live in a society or with other people, you would, you go through your human nature. Well, why didn't he go out and be by himself? A lot of the stunts he did, and the things he was doing involved other people. He was trying to, convey something to them. But there's this awesome video. Check it out. I was just fascinated. I watched the whole thing. And as you guys know, I probably have ADHD. So for me to watch this whole thing, it was fascinating to me. And it was, look it up on YouTube. I don't know what it's called. It's called like Tribe Sees White Man for the First Time or something like that. And of course, there's people online who are saying it's fake and stuff like that. But I'm looking at these people and I'm saying they are not faking it. These are not actors in that video. Look that up. White man. Tribe Sees White Man for the First Time or something like that. It's like an hour long. Hey, George Bruno, you're saying that one of the reasons why I have a business online now? That is crazy. And I love that. Thank you so much. I've seen your videos around. They're super popular now. I love your content. Thanks for that. So on that video, you just get to see some pure human facial expressions that I've just never really seen before. Because even now, you're looking at me, I have a very westernized, I have a very socialized thing going on, right? The way I talk, the inflection in my voice. Thank you for typing those three things out that I talked about. Thank you, Angelica. So recognizes corruption and authority, been failed by the medical system, and has been gaslit before. Those are the people who right now are not having any of this. So yeah, that video was so beautiful, but there was one point that really, really got me. So at one point, because they were really curious, the tribes people were really curious about the cameras, and they wanted to touch the white people. They were touching their skin and looking at, and then there's one point where the guy's making the documentary, he gives them a recorder, and so they can record things, and he shows them like you talk into it and then you can play it back. And so he gave it to the one man, and the story he said was so beautiful. They translated it. I don't know how they translated it, but I just thought it was so beautiful. He said, I can't remember what he said, my name is, and he said his name, and he said, I come from this place, my family was from here, I will go back there and die, or something like that. I have to find exactly what it was. I think I'll probably make a review video of that video because I loved it so much. But also, he said, many years ago, I suggested you should do Adelle Con and bring together all your subs, maybe someday. I remember that comment. I remember thinking, I don't want to put the name Con next to my name because yes, people love to try and tell me that I was a con back then. But I found that online, I look up old things, people are saying like, Adelle is the real thing. And the people saying, she was lying. And they're like, no, like, look at this and that. Like, it's right there. It's real, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, but I was just making a joke. So, yeah, so this tribesman, he takes the recorder, the Adelle Expo. That doesn't sound narcissistic at all. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I do need ideas. I do try to think of ideas for the brand that I have and what I'm trying to create here. I try to think of like, what is something I could umbrella it under? And I struggle with that. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Oh, I know George Bruno's channel. Someone's saying, hey, that's cool. Yeah, I find people who I have stuff. I have subscribers in common with people who I tend to have similar topics and values at. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, we should brainstorm sometime. So I have to tell you guys about this. So the tribesman, he takes the recorder and he sings a song into it. Okay, it is the cutest song. It's like Kikobo, Kikobo. I still remember that. He go Kikobo, eh. He sings into this recorder, and so the guy takes it back, and he plays it back. And so all the tribes people were there, like watching this guy. He's like the leader in the tribe, and so he goes to play it. He hits it back, and the recorder starts going Kikobo, Kikobo, and the guy, you can see he gets shame on his face, and he starts go. He goes and he kind of hides, and all the people are smiling, and you can see it's so funny because you know how like when you first experience hearing your voice on the radio or on a video, and you're just like, oh God. It was just really funny because like, this person was not westernized. This person hadn't been exposed to modern day society, and they were having these experiences and their emotions that they went through. I know, it's so precious. Go find that video and watch the whole thing. The children, there was one kid who had this really sweet, beautiful expression on their face, and the kid just looked so natural, had this like dark skin from being out in the sun, and this like really curly hair, a little bit red from the sun. And I looked at it and I was just like, I don't know, I was rude. I looked at this little child and I was thinking, like the child reminded me of me. I was as a little kid, before all crazy manner of the world came and it showed me the truth, right? I was this little wild Mowgli kid, I looked like a boy. That's another thing. Thank God that I grew up in the 80s and not today, because I looked like a boy. I was interested in boy things, and I had all guy friends. I was the leader of the boys. So if I had grown up in this day and age, they would have said, oh, you're this and that. We're going to put you on drugs and we're going to tell you this and that, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. I think about that, and I could go on about that actually, but I'd rather not. Let's talk about Diogenes. I'll make another video talking about that. So I talked about the three things. I talked about what he said to the son of the hooker, which was really rude. And another thing that he used to do, and you can see in the thumbnail of my picture, they made a monument to him, and he's known as the old man with the lantern. He used to go into the marketplace. So imagine you're standing in this marketplace with your friends, and the crazy old dude, and by the way, his name was Diogenes the dog. I think it actually turns out to the dog, or the man of God who was like a dog. He loved dogs. He felt that they lived a very honest, pure life, and he used to try to live like dogs. So he was poor. The only thing he owned was a cloak and a staff, and he lived in garbage he could find lying around. So like a bathtub was his home. Sometimes it was a barrel, whatever. And he used to relieve himself wherever he felt like a dog would. So yes. So the crazy dude, who everyone also admired, which is interesting. People call him Socrates gone mad, and he was friends with Plato, and they had kind of it sounded like a bit of a rivalry going, or not a rivalry, but like he used to kind of pick on Plato. So he definitely walked the line between brilliance and crazy. He's a really good example of someone who's really brilliant, but also it drove him into madness, right? Many of you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so you're in the marketplace with your friends. The brilliant, crazy dude comes up, and he just takes his lantern and he puts it up. He's looking in your face, and he just makes this and goes up to your friend. And then, of course, he did all these antics. And so people would say, Diogenes, what are you doing? And he would say, I'm looking for a man. And so he's essentially, some people have said that it was, what do you call it? Some people have you know how things get through time. Some people said that he was actually saying, I'm looking for an honest man. But I like the idea of, I'm looking for a man. Just to me, what that meant was just someone who was natural, someone who was a human being, right? Not, as he has referred to, as a featherless biped, a plucked chicken. That's what he described humans. Human beings are just bipeds without feathers. They're plucked chickens, right? Where is a man? Someone who lives in nature, someone who is not beholden by these laws, someone who lives a free life, who is a free man. He couldn't find one. So now his statue is the old man with the lantern. And that's definitely a problem we're having in society today. Look all around you. Yeah, he was a wild man. It's like, I'm trying to find a man, trying to find a woman. There's a similar video, BBC Earth, titled Listening to Recorded Music for the First Time, Native Africans, David Attenborough. That's really cute. I think you said David Attenborough. I feel like everything is quote unquote triggering me these days. It's too bad he didn't have Reddit for awkward hippies. Yeah, he was a troll, essentially. He was a troll, and he had a lot of, but he was a brilliant troll, right? Kind of like, oh, someone help me remember her name. My brain is, like I said, my brain is not functioning well lately. The woman with Camille Paglia. That, I like to talk about her being a troll too. But gosh, she's brilliant, and she has the best comebacks and the best insults. I was trying to look her up lately. I'm like, what is she doing now? What is she saying about what's going on? I can't find anything. So if anyone knows what Camille Paglia is up to, please let me know. I love her. So yeah, what were we talking about? And how are you all doing? Where are you watching this from? Let me know. I like to know. Are you listening while you're driving down the highway? Are you in the subway on the way to work or school? Are you lying in bed? What are you doing? And where are you tuning in from? Let me know. Oh yeah, I have another comeback, a Diogenes comeback that I can think of. There was one point where he got captured by pirates and sold in the marketplace as a slave. And as I've mentioned to you all before, slavery has been going on to all people on all continents and all races for the history of humanity. Only one group of people is encouraged to continue talking and thinking about it. But it has happened to everyone. All of us has slavery in our ancient family history, or even, close family history, whatever. Eating ice cream in your room. That's great. What kind of ice cream is it? I would like to know. So yeah, he got sold. I watched it from London, UK. That's cool. I was there once. I have cousins who are there, and my cousin was showing us around the town. Oh man, I had a really interesting, I feel like I could talk about it. Here I am, I'm just going to talk and riff on things. So my cousin, he wanted to, peanut butter brownie, cashew milk based. Whoa. Nice. He wanted to show myself and my partner at the time around. And we were walking and we were looking at the sites, whatever. He's like, this is the Tube, I think it was called. And he's like, we're going to go check it out. It's like a thing that people do in London. This sign that says, what is that famous sign on the floor in the London Tube? What does it say again? It's got some kind of cute little, I forget what it says. Someone tell me if you can remember what it says. That iconic thing. In a desert villa in Best Western in Barstow. Hi, Adelle. Thank you for spelling my name right. Mind the Gap. Thank you. Good job. Mind the Gap. I don't know where did you say Barstow? I don't know where that is. There's a lot of things in the States that I don't know about. So tell me where that is. Mind the Gap. Yes. So he's like, we're going to go check that out. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right. So we're walking, and then we get to this place. And he's like, okay. And he turns and he's going down with this crowd of people. down into this thing, and they were literally like sardines shuffling. And he's like, okay, come on. He gets it. And I'm like, nope. That's I just said nope, 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 nope. I just said nope, no, no, no. So I didn't get to experience the tube in London. I didn't get to see the Mines the Gap. Nothing. Because I looked at that and I said, no. It just looked unsanitary. you know, I think it was because of all the, like, I don't know. There are many, I don't know why. I do have a high disgust ratio. Go look this up about personalities and personality types. And I think it's called disgust ratios. And I think Jordan Peterson has talked about it. It's like you tell someone the idea of, okay, you take a perfectly sterile beaker and you spit into it and then drink it. What's your response? Of course, to me, I just say, oh, that's disgusting. Right? Right? That's a test. And there's some people who are just like, whatever, right? But if you have a visceral response to that, you might have a high disgust ratio, which tends to translate to a bunch of different things about you socially, as well as what your political beliefs might be. Because I mean, it's sterile beaker, it's your own saliva, it's in your mouth and getting swallowed by you anyway. Why is it gross? So yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I've always no crowd of people getting touched and bumped and bustled. Oh, can't breathe. That was one thing I didn't. Oh gosh, see, this is why I tell you I have so much in common with Diogenes. I have many, many. You know, a lot of things that people think are amazing and great. London, I just like, oh, nasty. The people smoking on the street. I don't know where Barstow is on my way to visit. Got lost last night. I adore your brain, and I saw an alien emoji. Thank you for that. Noisy. Oh, yeah. But I just saw that. I remember, I say a lot of politically incorrect things. I think I might as well just go ahead and tell you guys. So it's a funny thing that cracked me up. I remember asking my brother, because I used to take the bus a lot. It took me a long time before I got a car to drive. I'm always on the bus. Now, this is way before the you-know-what nonsense that we're dealing with now. But I remember it just grossed me out. Everyone always, I remember asking my brother, why do white people always or why are white people always coughing? It cracked me up because my brother was laughing, but I like how I associated it that way. I'm not sure why I did, but it's funny because it was like when you grow up in a place where the majority of people are different from you, you notice that they're different. Well, I know you notice that they're different from you. And then the things that the majority of humans do, you may associate with those people. So yeah, I thought that was really quite funny. And then I just realized that all Western people cough often because they eat unhealthy diets and because the air here is not good. It's funny. So yeah, so Diogenes, look at these tangents. So Diogenes got sold as a slave in the marketplace. And so when people were coming up and thinking if they wanted to purchase this slave, they ask you, so what's your occupation? And I'm trying to remember the exact word he used. Haha, I'm white and I think I cough too much. My dad definitely coughed too much. Some weird noises. Okay, other people here who are not white who cough a lot and whose family coughs, please tell me, because my sample size is limited racially, especially here in Montana, okay? And in Alberta where I grew up, for the most part, later in life. So yeah, I can't remember the word he used, but like, what's your occupation? And I think he said, oh gosh, what was it? Chronic cough. Here's my other question. I feel like people cough like this because of eating dairy. Dairy and, yeah. So is there anyone here who doesn't eat dairy, who like coughs a lot? Haha, I'm Black Caribbean and we cough, lol. Okay, there we go. So my theory is gone. But like I said, I knew it was because of the sample I was working with. So I can't remember what he said, but they're like, what's your occupation? And he said, I'm a leader of men. Anyone who wants a master should purchase me. That made me freaking laugh. This guy was so hilarious. Dairy and soda make me cough forever. See? See? I told you. I rarely cough. I rarely cough. Look through this whole video and see if I cough. Go through all my videos and try to find one cough. Go ahead. Look, this is live. I can't even edit it out. I don't cough. I laugh a lot. But, so that cracked me up. This slave. Oh yeah, I'm a leader of men. Anyone who wants a master should buy me. But actually what happened was he did end up being purchased by a man who eventually he ended up mentoring this man who purchased him as a slave. Adele trying to avoid being canceled for coughing too much. Yeah, and he actually ended up mentoring this guy's children. He hired a slave and then ended up using the slave to teach him how to be a better man and to work with his children. So I thought that was interesting too. And I think I actually wrote these down because I can't remember all of these and I wanted to talk about them in this video. When I think of the fallen state of man and the things that Diogenes noticed, it reminds me of the Robert Greene book. Can confirm, was vegan for 10 years, never coughed and never had ear infections. Thank you very much. Although, yeah, my experience with veganism was bad. I think about it. LOL, Adele, don't you cough because you have healthy eating habits. You're clear and healthy. Thank you for that affirmation. Yes, I have healthy eating habits. I am clear and healthy. I don't stress eat at all. No. Thank you for that affirmation. I love it. So yeah, Robert Greene, he came out with a book recently. How many of you know Robert Greene? I think you all know let me know if you know which book he wrote prior to this, the book I'm talking about. But he has a book called The Laws of Human Nature, 18 Laws of Human Nature. What do you think they are? Generosity? Kindness? Acceptance? Are those the laws of human nature? No. No. I've got them right here. And, yeah. So I'm going to tell you what they are. 48 Laws of Power. That's right. That's another good book. Yes, it's probably the sugar. And yes, I know about Robert Greene. Yeah, the sugar will do it too. All right. So the 18 laws of human nature. Number 1, irrationality. Think about how many of these you're seeing around you today that have led up to the problems that we currently have in society. Narcissism, role-playing, compulsive behavior, covetousness, short-sightedness, right? That's when you're acting out of your amygdala, right? Defensiveness, self-sabotage. Unbelievable. Repression, envy, grandiosity, gender rigidity, aimlessness, conformity, fickleness, aggression, generational myopia. Okay, I have never heard this term before, but when I read it, I was like, whatever that means, I have it, or I've dealt with it. But I looked it up, and I think probably have to disagree after all. It says, I looked up myopia, and it says nearsightedness, lack of imagination, foresight, or intellectual insight. So how many of you know people who have a nearsightedness, lack of imagination, or intellectual insight about their family? How many of you? Or about being a human. How many? And then the final one, death denial. I haven't read the book because I don't need to read that book. I've lived that, okay? I've lived that entire list within myself and with what I've seen in humanity. And you know, that list actually makes me feel good because there are a couple of these that I know for sure I don't have. But there are a bunch of these that I definitely do have. Is there anything that stood out to you from that list that you either know for sure that you have, or that you're like, well, at least I don't have that from that list I just read? So for me, I know that I have a problem with self-sabotage. I know that. And aimlessness, got that too. Not generational myopia. Fickleness. Am I fickle? I don't think so. No, I don't think I have fickleness. I tend to do things with intention. Death denial. I do not have death denial. Okay. No. Self-sabotage, most definitely, and aimlessness. That's constants. These are so interesting. I think I could probably even make a series on this whole thing. I love talking about the difficulties of being alive. And that was one thing. The modern cynic believes that life is better to the best thing you could have in your life would be to not have been born at all. And I hate to admit, this is something that I've struggled with greatly struggled with that. I'm like someone who's just born, who parents didn't want, and they're just going to abuse and neglect and cause you problems, and you're going to grow up and you're not going to have any support, and you're going to have to work and build yourself from the bottom up, and you're going to struggle with, you know, self-confidence, loneliness, mental illness, like everything from your entire frigging family being put on you. Would it be better to not be born at all? I struggled with that for a really long time, and I still don't have the answer, to be honest. But the cynics back in the time of Diogenes, they didn't believe that. They didn't believe that life would be better to not have been born at all. They believed that life could be better if you lived rightly and you lived in nature and you didn't conform to all of the things. So I think that's kind of all I kind of wanted to talk about in this video. I am gonna go pick up my kitty, my little precious baby, and who will now not be having any more babies because life on the farm is really beautiful for animals, but it's also hard. Today when I was leaving, the frigging hawk was back. Yesterday when I was leaving to go drop the cat off, the hawk was on the frigging fence post not far from the house, and I honked the horn at it. I drove the truck near it, and it just kind of, you know, it's getting less and less afraid. And today it was soaring around, and I have a scarecrow out there, and I put a mobile with like reflective CDs, so when the sun catches it, it sends these kind of lasers out, and apparently hawks have really sensitive eyes, and so it'll deter them, but I don't really feel like it worked, and it's so windy that they always get blown down and destroyed. I've used like wire, like the kind of wire that's used for farm fences, like barbed wire fences, and that broke. It came off, it got brittle just from being constantly rattled around in the wind. And I've used fine wire, like the kind of wire you might use for fishing. And yesterday I used floss, because I feel like floss is really strong. Like you can't pull it, it won't break, but it broke. So, yeah, life is really hard for those kitties in a lot of ways. They have to dodge the coyotes. I think I lost one of my cats to the coyotes. He's been gone for 2 weeks. He's the one that has white with spots You can see him in my video, The Prairie Kittens of Montana. He was one of my, well, I have a story about all of my kitties. They're all really special. They all have some kind of interesting story or some kind of interesting personality trait. This is really funny. Remember in my video yesterday, I told you guys about the goose who lost his family and now he adopted himself in with the cows. So this goose travels around the pasture with the cows. Guess who has decided to join this motley crew? My son. I call him my son. Yes, I'm a typical millennial that refers to my pets as my son. There you go. His name's Speedy. He's a black cat. You can see him in a lot of my videos. He just has the biggest personality. I also call him Mr. Friendly Tail because when he comes up to you, he'll weave himself in between your legs and squish his tail really hard. And when he goes up to his friends, he'll go and he'll put his tail around their shoulder like an arm. Is human life determined and predestined? Had deja vu? Is it an illusion? I really can't answer that question. But it's worth exploring. So keep looking. Because I think about things like that all the time too. And I actually go back and forth. So yeah, Mr. Friendly Tail, Speedy. He's really athletic. He's done some crazy stunts that I just couldn't believe. And that's how he got his name. So yeah, I'm out and I'm doing stuff. I built up there's a swimming tank, a shallow swimming tank. It's like a cow feeder. It's usually used for watering cows. It's this big square thing. Fill that up with water for the ducks, and the chickens like to drink from it too. Well, those stupid ducks, they will not go. I put there's a pallet for them to go and get into there so they can swim. They won't do it. So I went and went out to the reservoir. Got a bunch of flat rocks, went back and built up the rocks around the side so that the ducks could get into the water and swim. I don't know if they'll do it because they are very dumb and afraid of everything. But I tried. So that's what I was doing yesterday. And as I'm in there messing around, the cows are really curious. They like to come over, and if I'm doing something, they'll just mill there and kind of watch me. There's 4 cows. And so the goose comes along with the cows, and they're all hanging out there. And then I'm going and I'm doing things, and I look over and I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. And I look and there's Speedy. He's lying down right near the cows and the goose, and he starts following them around. And I'm like, are you serious? He's part of their group now. And he's just lounging around with them. Yes. And so I looked at him and I thought he has the most beautiful life, so that even if he does die a miserable death out here from a frigging hawk, a stupid owl, or an annoying as hell coyote, then he just would have lived a beautiful life. Just he had all these experiences of being friends with different animals, and he's like, well, I wonder what he was up to when I was gone all day. He's probably in there. I can trust him with the chickens and stuff now because they're bigger. When they were small, they looked like something that the cats could jump on. But, he likes to go in there and he's like checking out the chickens. He'll go lie down in the hen house and, he goes and walks on the fence posts, and he has all kinds of hiding spots, and there's a creek. You can go there and catch stuff. And there's just so many things for him to explore and be curious and be out in nature. He just has a really good life. And yeah, but I wish that those other things were not such a concern, but such is life. And so I think there's a lesson in there too, just in that we're all going to die. Some death may be quick, some it may be a horrible death, but just create moments in your life that make you feel okay with when that time comes. There's a thought like nagging at me right now about that. Yes, 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 yes. So Diogenes, he believed that the greatest pleasure was abhorring pleasure. I chose the word abhorring. So how about we use a different word that might translate a bit better? Some of you know what that means. The greatest pleasure is rebuking pleasure. So he used to do things like walking barefoot in the snow. There was hot sand, like on a really hot day, he would go and roll around in the sand, the hot sand. He had his big, heavy porcelain barrel that he used to live in that someone had thrown out, and he would go and push it up and down the hill, right? And, stuff like that. And he believed that when one has experienced the greatest uncomfortabilities, right? When you've already experienced great pain, then you are truly able to appreciate the simple things in life that make life worth living, like the sun on your face. And that really stood out to me because I thought that, oh man, I'm just like that. I'm just like that. I notice the little, most beautiful things every day, and I actually write down in my journal at night, 3 to 5 little things that made me happy during the day. So one of the things I wrote this past week was coming out and seeing the solar light. We have one solar light in the yard, being there for the moment that it turned on. So basically, yeah, it's like a little torch that's just in the ground, and it collects solar power during the day, and then when it's dark enough outside, it turns on, and this is this beautiful kind of little light that does its own thing, and it made me really happy. So yeah, I think that's a really good note to end this call on, or this video. I went over an hour today. As you can see, I'm improving my endurance at speaking. Some research has been done to explore outer body experience, near-death experience. That's right. I definitely believe in that only because I've personally experienced it. If I hadn't experienced it, I might not believe it. So I don't expect anyone else to. We talked about a lot today. We went through a lot. I would really like to make a more concise video about all of the things that I talked about here today. And I just want to thank you all so much for sticking with my channel, even through me being shadow banned. I got a message from YouTube yesterday saying, we're going to be deleting more of your subscribers. They're spam subscribers. It makes absolutely no sense. And I read what it said, and it said, oh, these are people who either their accounts are completely inactive or they were purchased subscribers to your channel. And I'm thinking, oh, please. I'm just like, what? I didn't purchase subscribers, and they have algorithms in place for that anyway. That if your subscribers spike really quickly, really high in a certain length of time because you've been purchasing subscribers and there's no video views or anything to correlate with it, they can cancel that. You can get your account deleted, whatever. So I didn't buy subscribers. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But I think part of it is just, it's about demoralizing people, trying to get them to stop what they're doing without actually having to flat out do it. There have been so many people who have been deleted on YouTube unceremoniously. But I actually know someone else who this happened to her account, and she left it. It was Megan Elizabeth from Easy to Be Raw. She was one of the first people who inspired me with her book that she was selling. She would make these great videos. I'd love watching them. At the end of the video, she'd be like, this is my ebook, go buy this. And I was thinking, I can do that. She's one of those people that kind of got the thing rolling for me. And she made a video one day that was like, you know, I had this many, like I was approaching 90,000 subscribers and now I'm back down to 80 and now I'm down to 75. Like YouTube keeps deleting. Every time I post a video, it gets deleted. And she wasn't even talking about quote unquote controversial things, but she was talking about alternative health, which they don't like. And yeah, so I don't know. That's what happened there. So there have been people who just kind of gave up on her YouTube. She was a star to me. You know, she was a real star. Yeah, I'm pretty much gone. And she's in school now, apparently. Whoops. She's in school now studying something. And she's been gone for a while. So, anyway. I don't know. I'm not sure when the point of giving up or just moving to something different will be. I think I'll just do it when I'm gonna ready. It's not gonna be because of something that YouTube did, but I am starting to feel that I would like something a bit different in my life other than the internet. In fact, I would be very happy to rule the internet out of my life completely and to get rid of having a smartphone completely. I really like to just live a pastoral life with books for entertainment and being out in nature and just working and writing and reading and learning things. But the truth is, I really do like sharing these things and teaching them. That's what I did when I was a kid. I used to have this chalkboard that I got at a secondhand sale, and I used to tell the kids, "Okay, we're gonna have a craft corner. We're gonna have a." That actually reminded me of a really politically incorrect story that I can't tell. Oh man, now I have to tell. No, I can't tell. No, I can't tell that story. It's quite funny. If you know me in person or you're on my Instagram and you want to know that story, DM me and I'll tell you. But anyway, so yeah, I do like sharing, and I like sharing with people and inspiring people and helping educate. I don't expect anything from anyone watching my videos. I don't expect you to be different or do anything differently. Do whatever you want in your life. Live and let live. So yeah, bit of a rant. I think I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Stay aware and awake. Trust yourself. Spend time in nature. And I will see you again soon. Bye for now.